Many people today chase beauty, whether in their appearance, their life, or their achievements. Yet beauty alone is never the whole truth. Just as a photograph can be edited, beauty can be deceiving. What we see on the surface is not always what it truly is. The lotus flower is admired worldwide for its purity and grace, but without the mud, there would be no lotus. The mud is unpleasant, dirty and messy, yet it provides the nourishment for the flower to bloom. In the same way, our struggles, pain and imperfections are not obstacles to beauty. They are the soil from which real growth arises. If you only look for beauty, you may miss the truth. Truth includes the mud, the suffering, the setbacks, the uncomfortable parts of life. And when you accept the mud, you begin to see that what makes the lotus beautiful is not its perfection, but its journey from darkness into light. So do not run away from your difficulties. Do not despise the mud. The mud is your teacher. The mud carries the lessons that shape your character. And only by walking through it can you discover a beauty that is not superficial but deeply rooted in truth. When we understand this, we stop asking why is life so hard. Instead we begin to see, because of this mud, I can grow. Because of this mud, I can bloom. Remember, beauty without truth fades, but truth, even covered in mud, will always give rise to a lotus. We live in a time where beauty is worshipped, where the surface of things has been elevated above their essence. People take pictures, polish them with filters, and present them as the truth of their lives. Faces are touched up, moments are staged, and lifestyles are exaggerated. This pursuit of perfection on the outside often hides the cracks on the inside. Beauty in this sense becomes an illusion, a carefully designed image meant to impress others rather than reveal truth. When we cling to such appearances, we begin to mistake the reflection for reality, the mask for the person, and the decoration for the essence. But the truth is rarely so polished. The truth carries scars, wrinkles, and imperfections. And when you only look at the beautiful side of life, you run the risk of overlooking the deeper reality that gives life its meaning. Beauty can also become a prison if it blinds us to what lies beneath it. Think of a flower in a glass vase. To the eye, it is radiant, delicate, and filled with charm. But if you do not notice that its roots are missing, you may not realize that this beauty is temporary, cut away from the soil that sustains life. Many people are like this flower, shining on the outside but disconnected within. They cultivate an image of harmony, while their inner life suffers from neglect. The danger here is not in beauty itself, but in mistaking beauty for truth. The lotus is beautiful, yes, but what gives it truth is not only its petals, it is the mud that supports it. Without acknowledging this connection, we risk worshipping what is temporary, instead of respecting what is eternal. Consider also how beauty can be deceptive in our judgments of others. We often admire the person who appears successful, polished, and confident, without seeing the struggles and sacrifices hidden behind that image. In the same way, we sometimes dismiss those who seem ordinary, messy, or burdened, without realizing that their lives may carry a depth of wisdom that appearances cannot reveal. Beauty, therefore, is not reliable as a guide. If you judge only by beauty, you may be misled. You may envy someone's smile without knowing the pain behind it. You may desire someone's lifestyle without knowing the chains that hold them there. True perception demands that you look beyond what is offered on the surface. It demands humility, patience, and the willingness to sit with both the petals and the mud. Finally, beauty can deceive us not only in how we see others, but also in how we see ourselves. Many people collapse when their external beauty fades, when age takes away the smoothness of their skin, or when hardship leaves marks upon their face. They believe that something essential is lost, but if your worth has always been tied to beauty, you will feel empty when beauty changes. Truth, however, does not fade. A person rooted in truth knows that wrinkles can carry wisdom, that scars can carry stories, and that the soul becomes more radiant, not less, as it learns to embrace the mud of life. The deception of beauty is that it suggests permanence when it is always passing. But when you free yourself from the need to look beautiful, you begin to carry a different kind of presence, the presence of truth, which no time, no hardship, and no imperfection can erase. The lotus flower is celebrated all around the world as a symbol of purity, beauty, and resilience. Its petals are delicate, untainted, and shining as though untouched by the world. Yet what most people overlook is the foundation of this beauty, the mud. The lotus cannot bloom without sinking its roots into the thick, dark, and dirty mud at the bottom of the pond. This mud is not an obstacle to its growth, it is the very condition for its existence. In the same way, our struggles and hardships are not mistakes in the design of life. They are the mud that nourishes our soul. Just as the lotus reaches upward because it has been rooted in the dark, we too grow toward light, because we have experienced difficulty. Without the mud of suffering, our character would lack depth. Without pain, joy would feel shallow. Without struggle, growth would have no meaning. Many people spend their lives running away from their personal mud. They avoid discomfort, hide from their challenges, and reject the unpleasant aspects of life. But in doing so, they deprive themselves of the very soil that could strengthen them. Imagine if the lotus refused to sink into the mud because it was unpleasant. It would remain a seed forever, never blooming into its true potential. The same is true for human beings. If we expect life to always be clean, clear, and free from struggle, we will remain untested, fragile, and undeveloped. Hardship, like mud, is messy. It feels heavy. It is not something we desire, yet it is also rich with nutrients, wisdom, resilience, patience, humility, qualities that only reveal themselves when you dare to sink into the mud rather than escape it. It is in times of struggle that the essence of a person is revealed. When life is easy, it is simple to smile, to speak kindly, to be generous. But when you are in the mud, when you are faced with loss, failure, betrayal, or suffering, that is when your inner foundation is tested. Will you stay in the darkness and surrender, or will you begin to rise toward the light? The mud does not guarantee the lotus, it merely provides the condition for growth. The seed must still make the choice to push upward, and this is where the teaching lies for us. Life will provide the mud, but you must decide whether you will use it to grow or to decay. Many people sink into bitterness when they encounter hardship, while others use the same hardship to cultivate strength. The difference lies not in the mud itself, but in how you choose to respond to it. This is why the saying, "No mud, no lotus," carries such profound truth. It reminds us that beauty and growth cannot be separated from suffering and struggle. The most compassionate hearts are often born from the deepest wounds. The strongest characters are shaped by the hardest trials. Just as the lotus is admired not only for its petals, but also for its journey through the mud, so too must we learn to respect the difficulties we face as part of our path. If you remove the mud, you remove the possibility of the lotus. If you erase struggle, you erase the depth of the human spirit. The mud does not diminish the beauty of the lotus, it magnifies it. For it is not in spite of the mud, but because of it that the lotus shines so brightly upon the water's surface. Pain is one of the few experiences that unites all human beings. Regardless of who you are, where you come from, or what you possess, pain will visit you in different forms. It may arrive as physical discomfort, emotional heartbreak, or the quiet ache of loneliness. For most people, the first instinct is to resist it, to deny it, or to escape from it. Yet, if we only resist pain, we never truly learn from it. Pain is not a mistake in the design of life, it is a teacher, and like the most demanding teachers, it does not flatter us, it does not make us comfortable, and it does not make things easy. But it shapes us in ways that ease and pleasure never can. Pain holds lessons that are invisible when life is smooth. It is the mud that enriches the soil of the soul, allowing us to develop patience, humility, empathy, and wisdom, qualities that remain hidden until struggle forces them to awaken. If you reflect carefully, you will realize that some of your deepest insights and strongest qualities were born not in times of happiness, but in moments of suffering. It is when your body is weak that you discover the importance of health. It is when your heart is broken that you learn the value of compassion. It is when you lose something precious that you understand gratitude. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions and exposing what truly matters. Without it, we might live carelessly, assuming that joy, health, and love will always be present. But suffering makes us aware of their fragility, and therefore their value. In this way, pain is like a lantern in the darkness. It illuminates the truth we often ignore. But you must be willing to look at it directly, to stay with it long enough, instead of numbing it or running away. Only then does the lesson of pain become clear. Many people misunderstand pain, believing it to be an enemy, but if you change your perspective, you will see that pain is neutral. It is neither your friend nor your foe. It is simply a messenger. When you place your hand in fire, pain teaches you to remove it. When you make a mistake in life, pain teaches you not to repeat it. When someone betrays you, pain teaches you to discern trust more carefully. Each form of pain carries a signal, a reminder, or a lesson. But if you close yourself off and refuse to listen, the same pain will visit you again and again, like a teacher repeating the same lesson until the student understands. This is why many people experience cycles of suffering, not because life is unfair, but because they have not yet taken the time to listen to what the pain is trying to teach. To embrace pain as a teacher does not mean to enjoy suffering, but to recognize its place in the process of growth. The lotus flower does not bloom in crystal clear water. It blooms in the mud, which contains decay, heaviness, and difficulty. In the same way, the human soul does not become strong through pleasure alone. It deepens through struggle. Pain nourishes the soul by breaking down our illusions, by humbling our pride, and by awakening our compassion for others who also suffer. A person who has never known pain cannot truly understand another's suffering, nor can they extend genuine empathy. But the one who has walked through pain carries an invisible gift, the ability to connect with others at a deeper level. This is why pain is not just personal, it is also universal. The suffering you experience can become the bridge that connects you with the suffering of humanity. And when you begin to see pain in this way, you realize it is not only a teacher of the individual, but also a teacher of unity. Perfection is an idea that has trapped countless people in cycles of frustration and self-rejection. From an early age we are taught to chase flawless grades, flawless bodies, flawless careers, flawless lives. Yet perfection as we imagine it does not exist. The truth of life is imperfection. It is cracks, flaws, and unevenness. Like the mud that nourishes the lotus, imperfection is not something to be eliminated, but something to be accepted as part of the whole. When you try to erase all imperfection, you are trying to erase the very conditions that make growth possible. The mud does not ruin the lotus, it completes the story of the lotus. In the same way, your imperfections do not ruin you. They tell the story of who you are becoming. Transformation does not arise from the absence of imperfection. It arises from embracing it, learning from it, and walking through it with patience. When we reject our imperfections, we begin to live in constant conflict with ourselves. We try to appear stronger than we feel, wiser than we are, and happier than we may truly be. This constant masking creates exhaustion because we are always hiding from our own humanity. But when we learn to embrace imperfection, something changes. Instead of hiding our scars, we begin to see them as teachers. Instead of resenting our weaknesses, we begin to understand them as invitations for growth. A cracked pot, when placed in a garden, can still carry water, and along the path, water leaks through its cracks to nourish the earth. Its imperfection becomes its gift. In the same way, the parts of us that we once despised may be the very parts through which our greatest compassion and wisdom flow. Acceptance of imperfection is not resignation, it is liberation. It is the recognition that we are already enough, even as we continue to grow. Consider the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The cracks are not hidden, but highlighted, celebrated as part of the object's history. The vessel becomes more beautiful because of its imperfections, not in spite of them. Our lives too can be seen in this way. The broken places in us can become lines of gold if we allow them to be integrated rather than concealed. But this requires humility, because the ego always seeks to appear perfect and untouchable. The ego despises the mud, yet the spirit knows that it is only through mud that the lotus blooms. To embrace imperfection is to step beyond ego into authenticity. And authenticity has a radiance that no artificial perfection can match. Acceptance of imperfection also changes how we see others. If we demand perfection from ourselves, we inevitably demand it from those around us, which leads to disappointment, resentment, and judgment. But when we learn to accept our own mud, we become gentler toward the mud of others. We begin to recognize that every person is a lotus in process rooted in mud, yet striving toward the light. This recognition allows relationships to deepen because they are no longer built on unrealistic expectations but on genuine acceptance. The world does not need more perfect people, it needs more authentic people who are willing to live fully with both their light and their shadows. When you accept imperfection, you create the conditions for true transformation, not the shallow transformation of changing how things appear, but the profound transformation of changing how things are within. In every culture there is a tendency to value appearance over truth. We admire what looks polished, what seems effortless, what shines on the surface, but appearances are fragile. They can be manufactured, altered, and even faked. Truth, however, cannot be faked. It reveals itself through endurance, through consistency, through the way a person stands firm when the winds of life blow against them. This is why lasting beauty does not come from avoiding challenges, but from walking through them with courage. A person who has faced hardship, who has carried burdens, and yet continued to rise, possesses a beauty that goes beyond surface appearance. Their presence carries weight, depth, and authenticity. This beauty is not fleeting, because it is not painted on the outside. It has grown from within, through struggle, through resilience, through truth. The lotus flower teaches this lesson clearly. To the eye, it is beautiful, but if you only admire the petals, you miss the truth of its journey. The lotus has had to rise through darkness, pushing its way upward through mud and murky water, before it could bloom in the sunlight. Its beauty is not the result of avoiding difficulty, but of transforming difficulty. In the same way, the truth of human beauty cannot be separated from the challenges we endure. When you meet someone who has walked through pain, their presence has a certain depth that cannot be imitated. Their words carry sincerity, their silence carries peace, and their eyes reveal understanding. These qualities do not come from appearances, they come from truth. Without the mud of struggle, beauty would remain shallow, without foundation. But when beauty grows from truth, it endures. To live for appearances is to constantly perform. It is exhausting because you must always present a mask to the world, one that may not align with what you feel inside. But truth does not require performance. Truth requires alignment between your inner world and your outer actions. And this alignment brings freedom. You no longer need to impress others or hide your struggles. Instead, you live from a place of authenticity. Others may see the scars, the imperfections, the evidence of the mud you have walked through, but they will also see the strength, the wisdom, and the peace that has grown out of it. This is a beauty that appearance can never create, because it is rooted in experience, not in illusion. Just as a mountain shaped by storms stands with unshakable presence, a soul shaped by truth carries a lasting beauty that no hardship can erase. When we begin to value truth over appearance, we also change how we measure success and how we see others. A life that only looks perfect from the outside may be empty within, like a house with beautiful walls but no foundation. But a life that is rooted in truth may not always look polished. It may show signs of struggle, it may carry marks of pain, but it will be strong, stable, and real. This perspective invites us to shift from asking, "How do things look?" to asking, "What is true here?" It invites us to admire not only the flower in bloom, but also the mud that made it possible. And when we live in this way, we begin to embody a beauty that is not temporary but eternal, because it is not built on appearance, it is built on the truth of our journey. So remember, this beauty by itself is not truth. The truth includes the mud, the struggle, the imperfection, and the pain that life places in our path. Without these, there can be no depth, no wisdom, and no authentic transformation. The lotus is not admired because it avoided the mud, it is admired because it rose from it. In the same way, your strength, your compassion, and your true beauty will not come from hiding your struggles, but from allowing them to shape you. The scars you carry, the lessons you have learned, and the hardships you have overcome, these are not signs of weakness, they are proof of your truth. Do not run from the mud, do not despise it, for in that mud lies the possibility of your greatest blooming.